I also invited some speakers like Andy and Patrick and others, but I hadn't heard back from them quite yet. We will see.
There's no one here that's on speaking. Siddharth's doing a lightning karaoke. Have you recorded that yet, Siddharth?
Yeah, it has got recorded. It got recorded twice actually. So first time some goof up happened because of the first hand experience of lightning talk. So we just got recorded it.
Cool. And Garima's going to be doing product in a box workshop.
Yes, I'm looking forward and excited for it. So anyone in this group who wants to sign up for that, let me know. Do let me know. We will be building up a product box for 2021 for DevOps.
I would like to do that. How do I sign up?
Just send me an email. I'll send you an email on this chat so you can reach me.
Okay, awesome.
Hey Garima, how many do you have signed up for that course?
I have a couple of them, but I have not checked the recent numbers. I need the critical mass to do it effectively. So I'm looking for more signups by this weekend, but I can give you the numbers offline.
Okay. We sent out a newsletter this morning and we linked to all the workshops. So hopefully you see some traction from that.
Thank you very much for your support.
Of course.
Would you put your email in the chat and then I'll shoot you an email. Thank you. Is that it right there?
info@capitalcarbonconsulting.com.
Yes, awesome. Thank you.
Don's a new ambassador. Don, have you introduced yourself to everybody? Because you've only recently joined the ambassador program, haven't you? Why don't you say hello?
Hey, everybody. I posted out on the LinkedIn group. I'm really excited about being able to join y'all and collaborate. You know, some of the areas I'm really passionate about is organizational culture and having a supportive type of a organizational culture so that DevOps, DevSecOps, MLOps, all that stuff can emerge within the organization. And I'm really getting more and more passionate about this DevSecOps. I've seen that as a huge impediment in organizations, a major bottleneck all over across the organization. And I would love to be a part of that evolution and automating that sec piece like we did with ops.
Wonderful. I think we're going live. We've gone live, haven't we, Jeremy?
We just did, yeah. So if your page hasn't refreshed yet, go ahead and just refresh it now. But you should see basically a form fill window pop up. I'm going to put in a welcome everybody note, and then we can get started.
Nice.
I don't know why that posted as such. Okay. Let me post here and then we will get going.
Who's this Chili Piper? Just for the sake of curiosity, is that you, Jeremy?
It was, but I'm going to put the first question as DevOps Institute. Trying to add some spice to the discussions.
Nice.
Cool. So first question is, what professional accomplishment are you most proud of during this past year, DevOps friends? If you want to reply, if you don't know how to do that quite yet, Don, maybe this will probably apply to you first and foremost. But there's a little reply bar or a reply button right underneath the question or the comment from anybody, and you just type in your response right there.
Have you told everyone about Crowd Captain?
I have not, Helen. Do you want to do that? Or do you want me to?
It's very exciting. When we finish today, when we close the CrowdChat, somebody gets nominated crowd captain, and they get that basically on the amount of votes and tweets and everything that you do. It's a sort of gamified on the amount of activity. So yeah, who's going to be today's crowd captain, I wonder? So I'm very excited about my SRE cert. I started that off this year. I think I've done 3 certs this year. I did that, a professional Scrum and Kanban one, and then more recently I did a value stream transformation one with Karen Martin. Mark Hornbeek has also been doing value streams and SRE. Hello, Mark, by the way.
How are you doing, Helen?
I'm
Always good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise. Dr. G. I love that, Dr. G. Retail and healthcare in particular. What's the regulation profile like between those two industries? Similar or very different?
It's pretty different. Even in retail, you have 2 different kinds, right? You have essential and non-essential. So for the essentials, like they had to fight with supply chain logistics and all the other things just to make sure that online orders were able to be filled. And these are like essentials for a lot of people. So they were some clients of mine who were able to luckily transform in spite of this COVID pandemic, and they managed to not even have a single outage in spite of the huge amount of peaks. So that was something incredible and something I'm very proud of helping the team with.
Excellent, a win. It's been a very interesting year for the supply chain, hasn't it? I'm just going to be like slightly trivial for a little while, but ask people what things they haven't been able to get hold of. So for example, in the UK, we had a shortage of Marmite. And if you don't know what Marmite is, we're obsessed with it in the UK. It's a yeast extract, and we get it in small jars and we have it on toast with butter, and it comes with the tagline, you love it or you hate it. And I'm a love it. I really love Marmite, but there was a while where we couldn't get Marmite, but it worked out okay because we didn't have any pubs open, so nobody was selling any beer. So all of the people that usually made beer that had all the yeast just basically shipped all their yeast to the Marmite factory, and it was all okay in the end. But for a while there was a bit of a Marmite shortage. Is there anything else that you guys have not been able to get hold of? Or
hey, Helen, it's been my experience having had a British wife at one point that you can substitute Marmite with axle grease.
You cannot.
I refused to kiss her after she had Marmite for breakfast, let me tell you.
You should have some too. I have an ongoing discussion with my partner about whether Marmite counts as one of 5 a day. I don't know if you all have 5 a day. It's like a health thing in the UK that our government has, and we should all eat 5 pieces or portions of vegetables and fruit a day. And because Marmite's so high in vitamins E or whatever it is, or B, I think it might be. But anyway, I'm always like, well, that must count towards one of my 5 a day. But Matt says, no, it doesn't. But I'm still going with it. It does. I tried to buy a webcam at the start of the pandemic. That was quite difficult. Yeah. Anything else anybody's been short of in the supply chain?
Sanitizer, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, they're still in short supply over here.
Toilet paper, paper towel.
Yep.
Getting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for some reason, so I'm from California, right? And there are a lot of people who are like gluten-free, have gluten allergy and all that. But for some reason, all the stores are out of flour and out of every commodity that has gluten in it. It's crazy. It's weird. Everyone wants to bake now. They just want to take out their frustration by kneading dough.
Exactly what's happened here. There was a real shortage of bread flour and stuff as well. Don, your answer, being invited as a guest speaker for CellStrat, a community of ML ops developers. Tell us more about CellStrat.
CellStrat, and they're a startup, and I met them through a speed networking event, and met one of the founders at a speed networking event, and where I was at, kind of explained what I did, and he says, I would like you to come and talk to my community and do a talk on lean agile. How can that help us in ML ops or with machine learning? And I didn't even know if he even knew anything about MLOps, but basically I put together a talk, and it was an interactive type of a thing, and really enjoyed it. And we started kind of somewhat of a partnership where we would kind of cross promote one another. One of the cool things that they're doing is they put on courses for kids to get kids engaged with being able to develop machine learning and artificial intelligence, and that was kind of cool.
Fabulous. And you're leaning into one of the answers to the next question. So Siddharth has asked, what are you most looking forward to in 2021 from a DevOps perspective? And you've just been talking about ML ops. So is it model? Is it machine learning? Who knows? But Garima has answered data twinning with DevOps. And actually, Garima joined me for a webcast earlier on in the week where we talked about data ops. Do you want to talk to us more about what you're thinking around data, Garima?
Yeah, it was very insightful. During that talk, I actually got to meet the CEO of Data Kitchen, and we were also joined by Objectivity. So it was a valid conversation to have, like when we are seeing so much traction with data science and machine learning, how from a DevOps perspective, DevOps can be an enabler in this journey, as well as we can learn from what we have done in DevOps from the past, and how that journey would shape up. What are the typical challenges which data and data ops would face, and what they can learn from DevOps. They can also have their own specific challenges, and I see and believe that will happen. But this is like one step forward in the right direction, I guess.
Yeah, one of the things that I've discovered when I was coaching some machine learning teams in one of my engagements is they don't have the tool chains for doing CI/CD. Sometimes they don't have those available, so that evolution needs to happen more for them. Like,
who else knows what about data ops? Who thinks data ops is a thing that is going to get bigger, or is it going to disappear? What do people think? Should we care about data ops as DevOps people?
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
Because they can be a bottleneck. There could be bottlenecks with the product in that regard, in my opinion. That's how I could see it. If they're having struggles, it could take time for those solutions to get developed, and then they all of a sudden become a bottleneck for whatever it is that you're developing. And that's just, whenever you can remove bottleneck and automate things, that's what you kind of want to do from that perspective. That's my opinion anyway.
When you say they, are you meaning DBAs or data scientists, or whom? Who is they?
That capability on a team, for example, it'd be similar to, and I'm kind of speaking from a real high level. I mean, the way I see how our DevOps came about is when they were value stream mapping things, they saw that ops was the bottleneck. And so then that was where everyone kind of swarmed to try to figure out how to automate that. Well, now that bottleneck has kind of been mitigated and greatly reduced. Now the thing is with you got this new capability of data science and all of that, that's kind of all a new thing, and it's kind of in many cases manual and that type of thing. So we got to move toward automating some of those types of in the right way, if that makes sense. That's just my opinion. I mean, I don't have a lot of database to back that up, but I would like other people to chime in as well. I don't want to do all the talking.
From my experience, I think, Helen, it is actually equally important to understand what data can't do when you are discussing what data can do, right? So a lot of people are coming to us saying that here we have this data, and I discussed this in that conversation as well we had. So it's not about the data, it's about the business question. And if you do not have that clarity about the business question, data can be of least help. So I think that that needs to be understood by the larger masses.
That's a great point, Garima. I mean, I've talked to a lot of customers, and they assume that just because they collect loads and loads of data, that suddenly they are empowered with a lot of knowledge and information that they can use to further their business. But what I keep telling them and educating them is that just because you're collecting data doesn't make you intelligent. It just makes you a data hoarder. So you can be spending a lot of storage and just trying to shove all of these things together, and everything has a shelf life. So unless you know what your business outcomes are that you're driving to, or what your key performance indicators are, and collect the data and the metrics related to that, the pieces of data that you capture is going to be useless at the end of the day.
I think data ops is really interesting because I think it's really emerging. So it seems to be defining itself as it goes along. Data Kitchen have done a really good like cookbook and stuff on it. But a new question on the CrowdChat, building off of Siddharth's last questions, what does the future hold for DevOps skill sets? It's quite an interesting one, actually. I did a recording for one of the other amazing things. It's going to happen at Global Skill Up Fest next week. We have a couple of bouncing buzzword sessions. Bouncing buzzwords is a game I invented for DevOps Enterprise Summit in the summer. I played it with John Allspore and Dominica de Grandis and Damon Edwards. And it was very chaotic because I just kind of made it up as we went along. But we basically kind of throw balls at each other at the screen and then talk about buzzwords and whether they're useful or not. So I recorded one yesterday. I recorded two actually yesterday, but the one that I'm thinking of is the one that I recorded with Jane Grohl, obviously, and Patrick Dubois and John Willis. And I have this thing about people becoming more multifunctional and that tools becoming easier to use, and that being that kind of E-shaped, cone-shaped person becoming increasingly apparent and prolific in organizations. But actually Patrick was like quite clear that he just doesn't think it's fair to expect humans to hold so many different skills at any one time. So I think there's definitely a humane aspect to that idea of pushing every team member to know everything. What do other people think? Is multifunctional human beings the human, what do you call it, Swiss Army knife? Is that the way we're going to go, or is there a different pattern?
I haven't gotten that far. I'm thinking about the bouncing ball speaker gift, where you deploy it, and then when you key it from your own computer, it shoots out the ball at the other person's computer.
Nice. I hadn't thought of that aspect. That was version 2.0 we played this week. 3.0, I want to include live audience interaction with, we did have buzzers on our phones this time around, which was a new thing. So there's an app called Buzzer Pro, which is quite fun. And it's got loads of things on it. I really like that one. I really love this one as well. It's very
Remote
cute.
Nerf.
What I would, how would I answer to your question, Helen, is the future hold for DevOps skill set is, I'll give you with an example. You know, what happens is during the summers, when you're driving down the road, you see a water glimmering around the pavements and at certain spots. And when you reach those spots, you see there isn't anything. The similar thing is happening with me in the areas of DevOps for quite long years. I see a glimmering hope at some point of time that, you know, probably I've gained good enough knowledge in the DevOps. And next year, next quarter, next month, there's something more that comes up, and I say, you know, the water is not over here. Probably it is, you know, some distance away from it, and that distance always remains the same. And so does the skill set of DevOps. It's just increasing each day, left and right, north and south, east and west.
I think what you're saying is a bit like how someone put it to me one day, and that he imagined it like a tin of paint. And you know, when a tin of paint dribbles and you get like a really long dribble, and that might be somebody's SRE skill, and then you get a slightly shorter dribble that might be their IAC capability, and then a longer dribble again, which might be their knowledge about AI ops. There's kind of like, I really like that. It worked quite well for me, the paint dribble analogy.
Well, on that subject is the longer like a team is persistent over time, and you kind of apply that skills matrices approach to leveling up each other, you're going to become, if the team can stay together for a long period of time and you're learning from one another, everyone's going to be cross-pollinating each other's skills to some degree. But if that gets broken up, then that kind of ends that journey to some degree, and it makes it a little more difficult to try to get all those different skills and keep growing and being more high performing for that particular product, if that makes sense.
That's me. Others?
I think you need all the skills all the time, or as many as you can get. I constantly find myself grabbing some stuff or looking for a book or reading into something else or trying something different or finding somebody smart to show me something different to move forward, because there's so much change in the organization that you really have to be aware of all those kind of different pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
Technology is evolving so rapidly, and you're always learning. Essentially, it boils down to. And I apologize just for interrupting you.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that do you also see that the pattern and the techniques of learning are different next year and moving onwards? At least I see from where I sit today as people are more interested. The first point is that we are at a point where we can actually start driving certifications, the fundamental knowledge around building up that grounds up community. And then we also see that these community of practices, the open source communities, they are coming strong in enabling the learnings which we are gathering from different directions and evolving them in one way or the other. So I think that there will be a lot of contribution from these open communities, not only in DevOps, but also data ops.
Tell us more about the immersive. A new question, actually. What do you see as the single biggest software delivery challenge heading into 2021? Well, that's a toughie.
What I think is, as we are everyone in the COVID-19, now the challenge would be to have everything digital, or most of the thing digital, point one. Point two is how to have that human touch while the ways of working. I have completely lost it, I always see people on these screen cameras, laptops, mobiles. I don't see people in real, and that pushes me back into not so exciting about what I'm doing at times. So I think that human touch, how organization can bring in, is the next big challenge. People have survived 2 months, 3 months, and I think they need to survive for another 6-7 months at least, anyhow. Considering the best possible scenario if the vaccine comes in UK also.
I concur with you. And on that thing is I can see how it's a struggle for teams really to even be able to connect, but then how can those teams connect with the customer in this type of an environment and develop empathy for them so that they have a better understanding of who they're actually developing the solutions for, that so that then they can more likely uncover innovations for those folks. But if you can't even hardly connect as a team when you're developing, how are you even going to be able to connect with your and continue to have that empathy and grow that empathy for your customer in this type of an environment? That's a huge challenge in my opinion.
I also see that there will be a challenge in governing all this digital diversity which we are bringing in. So that is something which we all have to think through.
What do you mean by digital diversity?
Okay, so highlighting and connecting to what you all have said, that the consumer choices are changing, right? The trajectory of consumer choices is non-linear today, and so are our digital solutions. So we see a rise in diverse digital solutions, with shortening lifespan of all these digital capabilities, features, products. So this is actually continuously becoming a challenge, not only to assess how to actually create and maximize the return of investment from each product, each feature, because the lifespan is really shortened, right? And how to bring governance so that you don't have introduced liability, you don't have introduced like a different direction to your products.
The lifespan shouldn't be shortened. If you're agile and doing DevOps, you should be adapting the product to meet the needs of the customer as the customer returns the responses and timeliness, right? If you keep going to a new product, I think what you're saying is you get that little stair step model, right? That you keep dropping off and starting over again. So you go up to the top, then you drop off a cliff and start over with a new product, and you have to do all the training and everything all over again and start over. Where what you want to do is keep on the line. But you say the customers keep switching to a new model. If they switch, there must be something they're not getting from the model that you can offer them.
Right. To a certain extent, yes, that can be one of the problems. But I also see that there is a problem how we are assessing and tuning our product values, and how do we understand that what are the potential features which will bring return of investment in long term. So this is like a connected and unified way of bringing products to the market, which I think we need to have to work more and more on. And that is where the governance of digital diversity and the solutions which are bringing on the table comes from.
But I think your value in your long term is just the theory is derived by the vision of what you offer, not necessarily by the product of what you offer. And I was looking at a book this morning that was talking about Rackspace and some of their things when they started out and doing fanatical support, right? And that the support was what they offered, and the products were secondary to being able to support. When you talk about 3M, they talk about innovation is the vision. And when they get new products, they split the product off to be something else, but the company continues because they're based on that innovation.
Right. And, if you see the disruptive or drastic changes which are happening, and this is a conversation totally to have in, offline as well, that I come from a telecom background. So what we are seeing is open RAN solutions. So what we are we are creating a market for those kind of solutions. And this is a lot of uncertainty which is driving those solutions forward. So we need to have a unified way of bringing governance into these kind of uncertain innovations which are we are bringing into the market. So it's it's a question which would need a larger conversation, I guess. But I understand you're referring to some some things. I have also seen it in the deliveries which I see it from the traditional perspective as well. So I acknowledge what you're saying.
No worries, just chatting.
Yeah, I know you, Mark.
When you're talking about governance, I kind of want to understand that a little bit more. What do you mean by the governance aspect of what you're talking about?
So is it the question to me?
Yes.
So when I talk about governance, actually, if you think about there is no single unified way how you are actually building value from end-to-end perspective. And when I say that, I have interacted with a lot of entrepreneurs in Ottawa and in Toronto, where they're bringing up new solutions. But the problem statement what they have is that the first thing is that they have problems decoding that value. from the inception stages of the product. Even if they have decoded the value, they have got the investors on board to that value, they have another challenge. There's another set of entrepreneurs, another set of product owners, which have issues with, having consistency in how the team, how the product owner, how the customers are thinking about the value, and what kind of prioritization needs to be done. The third aspect is that some of the entrepreneurs have these products, and these products are, launched, and they have their first MVP, but they're also kind of lost in one or the other way, because there are too many features they want to build up, and there is no single way or unified way to come across what kind of values or what kind of product features they should build up. And that's the feedback loop which they kind of are missing, or there's no one way to assess that value. So this is kind of a governance which is needed in order to ensure that it's not only you're building and bringing new ideas on the table, but you also know how fast you can deliver, what kind of time to market strategies you have, as well as what are the value feedback loops you are building up in your product. And this is not a simple thing to do, because I've seen people and entrepreneurs struggling in each of these cycles. It's really complex, when you talk about value and how this is inbuilt in products. So that is where I think governance would come into picture. You need to have those kind of checks, balances, strategies to ensure that your team is kind of working in a unified value proposition, as well as what kind of liability you're building up, what is the cost to the business of doing these scaling up in these dimensions.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And I would think that it would kind of vary depending upon the business, and the context would have a lot to do with how you would want to make those decisions from that perspective. In other words, 3M's context versus somebody like a completely different business. Trying to think of another business off the top of my head, like maybe Salesforce. The way they look at it would be different. You know what I'm saying? Is kind of depends. But you would say you would want to try to establish that wherever you're at. Is that kind of what you're driving? That governance would be something that each organization, each business would want to establish? Or are you thinking that it's something that could be across multiple types of sectors or something like that?
One way to answer your question would be continuous product oriented practice, because I feel and I see that we have worked too much on flow and feedback and experimentation, but what we are lacking today is building up a unified value system. And continuous product oriented practice, this is one of the practices which we have incorporated in all our engagements, is basically seeing an end-to-end value governance. And how we do that, there are tools and techniques to do that. We are not reinventing the wheel here. There are already available tools and techniques. As Mark, you mentioned, you can go agile and assess how fast you can deliver, what kind of tools and techniques are available for, your delivery team, your operation teams, and, if the boundaries are porous enough yet or not, to ensure that you have the DevOps ways of working, but also building up strategies with data. What kind of data you have to answer what business questions you are after. So all this is has to work together in one way.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to your course as well.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to argue again. I'm going to say that it doesn't have to be one way. It just has to value.
Yeah, and
right. And that if you restrict your governance to one way, then you restrict your ability to create agility in your organization. In your DevOps moving forward, right?
Yeah, there are multiple ways you can think about it. I would advocate the way which I would say it, to make clear communication with the teams, it is always advisable to have consistent value dimensions. You have to have a clear thought process on how you are positioning your products, who are the consumers you have, what is the target user segment, how can you build filter models around it. That's one way of doing it, but I'm not restricting it to that only one way. There can be like governance around what you said, bringing multiple innovations, building up future scenarios, possibilities which can work together, and try and test it and experiment it. But still you will need governance, because you will need to assess that data, what kind of experimentations will bring you what value towards whatever segmentation you have. So still you need some governance, but again, it's a question of when are you ready to scale. When do you have that critical mass where this question comes in?
It's almost like an evolving algorithm. You're trying to hone in on do you have the when you have the right data to make those decisions, and it's kind of an evolving process. And I agree with the other gentleman that what's the way one organization does may not be the same, but you can kind of leverage things here and there, but you tweak the things according to what works for you in that regard. So it's not so rigid. You don't want to be too rigid. I think that's what you were making. The point you were making, Mr. Peters, is as I don't see your name on here. Mark. Yeah. This is a good conversation. Well, we could talk on this for quite a while, I think.
In the Global Skill Fest, I'm not missing out John and Patrick's buzzword session. That is one thing I'm looking forward to. And not the only one, but yes.
There is another Bouncing Buzzword session that features Sean Mack, who's CIO CISO at Wiley and Devops Institute Ambassador. He's also doing a talk on how Wiley, if you don't know Wiley, they're the global publisher, most famous probably for the Dummies Guides. They publish the Dummies Guides. Mm-hmm. He's going to talk about how Wiley used DevOps to get through the pandemic. And on that one, we are joined by Andreas Prens from the Netherlands, another ambassador, and Lisa Chan from Petronas, which is the big oil and gas company out in Malaysia. So that one's going to be also very fun. There's so much on.
Yeah. I'm also looking forward to the relationship agility workshop that Simone is going to be conducting. Sounds super exciting, and I'm looking forward to learn from it.
You're also all going to get an invite shortly when Layla provides me with the sign-up details to the Global Skill Up Festival party, which is going to happen on Wednesday at 8 o'clock UK. So that's, I think, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. ET, something like that. Sounds about right to you, Jeremy? It's a bit late for our guys out in India, probably. But there's going to be a dance floor and DJs. It's going to be quite different. So you'll have your invitation to that very soon.
Yes, I got the invite for 3 a.m. 3 a.m. or 3:30 a.m.
So are we supposed to be in our traditional outfits or something like that? What are you expecting?
I don't know. I haven't had all the details from Layla yet, but I have been getting my Christmas jumper ready. So I'll be there with my glittery narwhal, which is my Christmas jumper.
Ugly Christmas sweaters.
Yeah, or pretty Christmas sweaters if you want one. My narwhal's quite nice. I've also got something else. I like that. It should be here.
We should have a New Year's resolution party at the Global Skill Festival. You make your DevOps resolution for the next year.
Ooh, that's a good question.
The platform that we're actually using is called Topia. And so you'll be able to be on camera and walk around. And as you get close to each other, your videos will pop up next to each other. So we can have like a resolution circle and have that.
I made a resolution to not make resolutions. This is my Brussels sprout headpiece. So hopefully you're all enjoying that. It's very Christmassy.
Your camera's off.
See you, Helen.
Oh, why is my camera off? I'm so sorry. There it is. Look, what an entrance, though.
Great.
Ew.
The Brussels sprouts headpiece. It's my Christmas gift.
What about your kittens? Have you got them, Helen?
What was that?
Yeah, you were driving 4 hours from your place and getting your 2 kittens back home. Have you got them?
That's tomorrow. Tomorrow is the big day. Yeah. So yes, shortly, next time you see me on video, I might be joined by some small furry creatures. New update on the CrowdChat, bust a myth associated with DevOps. Oh, Dr. G, automate everything. I love that one.
Let's start with it.
What shouldn't we automate, Dr. G?
There are some things, and again, it depends upon the organization, right? It's a balance of whether you're maintaining the automation that is required, that introduces much more complexities. Like, for example, I think telecommunication. I'll take an example there. Voice testing. That is something that is super complex. It's really challenging to automate and have automated tests for everything and run it, because there are so many complexities in the patterns. We haven't reached there yet. Of course, with AI, ML models all being introduced, eventually in the future we'll get it. But you can't just automate voice print recognition and those kinds of things. So that's one. And then the other thing is, even though you introduce a fair level of automation in the workplace, there are some things that we as humans have a perspective on that is much more subjective, that will help our customers. So those are things probably that we shouldn't be looking at automating anytime in the near future. Those 2 things that come to the top of my mind right now.
Yeah, I also believe that what I've experienced, and you mentioned telecommunication. So what I'm experiencing is the cost of automation becomes higher than the benefits of it. And especially in telecommunication, there's so many heavy systems which are not cloud native, which we have not transformed, that actually creates a view that why you're automating things. The question about, either you want to build transparency or reduce toil, or there is another reason. So I think, again, I'm a very kind of a basic person. I would like to start from the basic, like, what is your why to automate? Just understand that and then start to automate. And you will yourself know that automating everything does not make sense.
The why is huge. The why is always huge.
Yeah. I also feel some organizations, or especially in some industries, they look to automation as a means to reduce headcount, and they assume that that is the panacea to reduce their costs. And that, at least in my mind, having being part of the Humans of Devops movement, I feel that is a very wrong place to come from, because the goal of automation is to reduce the pain and improve the quality of life of humans, and not to reduce headcount.
Absolutely.
I think the other one you see is they automate and then they ignore the results of the automation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It doesn't fit in their understanding of what the automation is. So automation is stupid in their minds, right?
But I still have to go back through the logs. I've just aggregated them all in one place, right? I still have to look at the data that's coming out of my automated tools, because it's just like somebody was doing it. It's just faster.
Cool. So right now we're busting DevOps myths, and then also we're celebrating the Humans of Devops here and all next week. So tag someone and say why you appreciate them.
I've also included in my response the Twitter list to all the ambassadors. So if you're not following that already, please do. And if you're not on it, let me know and I'll make sure that you are.
That's brilliant.
Amongst many ones, and I've called it out on the chat also, the people who are working behind the scenes to make this event successful are the ones who should be appreciated. I know they are not mostly on the forefront as we folks are, so I think they need a big thumbs up, cheers up, hands up for all their efforts. Recordings, plannings. I think endless things happens. So
Layla's not on the call, but you do have Jada, who has been absolutely pivotal. So we can all give Jada a round of applause in advance for next week. And we also have Ingrid. So I think, Ingrid, did you pop up last week and say hello? But if you wanted to pop up momentarily, Ingrid was with us for quite a long time before, and then she abandoned us for a little while, but she's back now.
Yes, I'm back. And thank you so much for that. Here, I'll turn on my camera. Sorry, I'm just like in a awkward spot right now in my house. So sorry. Yeah, good to see everyone, and it's good to be back. And this was very insightful. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the shout out, Helen. There's so many people involved in the videos and everything on the back end. So we have a great team here, and hopefully you all enjoy the festival that we've put together for you.
We should have your, every one of yours Twitter account. We should tag you. I just had Lila's because thanks to Helen.
Yeah, I just looked up yours, Jada. I couldn't find it quickly. Do you want to pop it in the chat for everybody?
My Twitter's not professional yet. That's what I use for my humor. So maybe next festival.
So no, we also not that professional on Twitter. LinkedIn is a different case.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
And of course, if we're in the business of thanking people that make stuff happen behind the scenes, we cannot forget Jeremy and the team at Catapult, the PR agency that we work with at Devops Institute. So thank you, Jeremy, for everything you and Terry and the team and Kristen and Megan and all of you do for us as well. It's all marvelous and much appreciated.
It is 100% our pleasure. We love being part of this community and love connecting with each and every one of you. So it's going to be a great celebration next week. I can't wait.
Yay. And then we have the ambassador wrap-up parties coming up after that as well. So hopefully you've got them in your diaries for the 17th of December. I haven't quite decided what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be a little bit more fun. Not that we don't have fun normally, but a little bit more different than what we do most months.
Helen, is there like a calendar, a DevOps Institute calendar of all this stuff that I could just like go to and consume all these different things and add things to my calendar like that?
I'm quite incremental in my work approach, so I tend not to plan out more than about a sprint a month in advance, but we generally have a monthly ambassadors meeting. I think if you go to the Devops Institute site, you should be able to see some of the skill up days coming up next year. Ingrid, have we got them live yet?
I think some of them are live. I'm checking now. It's on the list if they're not. So I'm looking.
And then the crowd chats are normally the Wednesday before the skill up day, but you've probably noticed it's not Wednesday today. So we broke the rules this month. So sorry, Don, we don't really plan that far out. It doesn't feel very DevOpsy. So you just have to stay in touch with us all the time to figure out what's going on. Sorry about that.
I love that message because that's awesome. That's cool.
Just planning at the most responsible moment.
Yeah. We like to be able to be adaptable and pivot as we need to. And this year has been a huge pivot for Devops Institute with skill up days coming through. You're going to hear a couple of announcements from me in my presentation, which I think is after Jane's on Thursday morning, where I'm going to talk about what I learned in 2020. And I'll be soft launching a couple of things that some of you know a bit about already, so membership and Doka as well. So there'll be a bit more info in there. More coming January. Okay, how are we doing on the crowd chat?
Don, there's
Doing well.
the USA chapter group in your chat.
There's the
I
USA
think you said,
chapter.
I think you said something really interesting there, Alan, about just this year being a huge pivot and how ways of working are changing. The emergence of how really, I think, is even more prevalent now maybe than even the why in some circumstances, right? But this idea of bringing hybrid or remote teams together. You know, what has everyone been seeing this year as far as what's been working, what hasn't been working? I know some people are remote, year round or for the most of the year. But I'm always interested in tips and tricks.
Have you seen the GitLab remote playbook?
I have not.
Check that out. That is a really very, and I'd like to collaborate with folks who've actually, I met a gentleman whose teams that's kind of their starting point, but it goes really, it's really good. I highly recommend it. I
Cool.
posted something out on the LinkedIn group about that, and there should be a link to it that you can download. It's a PDF, and you download it from the GitLab website.
Awesome.
Perhaps if you can find a link, Don, you could pop it in the chat and even in
Oh
a tweet.
yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Thank you.
I'll share across a downloadable PDF for the global skill event.
Perfect. Thanks, Siddharth. I think Mark was also saying, I don't know whether it got a bit lost, but Mark had put a link in for Don for the USA chapter. And I think it's worth maybe just mentioning the meetup groups and the chapters. They're fairly new this year. Garima has been doing an amazing job in Canada. She's chapter lead for the Devops Institute Chapter Canada. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what you've been doing out there, Garima?
So I come from a background where I actually started a meetup group 5 years back in Canada, where people thought that I was a crazy person running around with something called DevOps. But now people recognize that DevOps is something real and powerful just because it's experimental in nature. So I was given this opportunity in the beginning of this year with Devops Institute, and I'm privileged to have this position that where I lead this meetup group for Devops Institute. We have a couple of ambassadors in Canada, a handful of them, which are like, known in their own spaces. So they have helped me and contributed to this chapter. So every month, what we come up is a monthly theme. And we are trying to kind of align more and more with what other people are doing in their chapters so that we can actually build a unified conversation around the globe about what DevOps is, what DevOps would be, and what is your contribution. Let's say if I am in Canada, how Canada is contributing to enhancing the landscape for DevOps. So I think when DevOps Institute would aggregate all these findings, I think that will become really powerful.
Did someone post in the link to the group, the meetup group for USA? Because that's the one I wanted to join. And I apologize. I think you mentioned it, Helen. And
yeah, it's in the chat box.
In there, Don.
Get to that, Don. It should also have been in your welcome email, by the way.
Okay, let me think.
It's a couple
Yeah,
up.
Don,
Says 11:46.
You're not limited to US. You can join the neighbors, Canada.
And in all fairness, the last couple for the US, we've had the US and we've had Helen with the UK group, and we've had the Polish group with Magic there as well.
Okay,
so it's all kind of
awesome.
dependent on when you have times available to hop into something.
And you can
I
actually
went to
understand
Canada
that
last month.
Mark is running the US chapter. I am running the Canada chapter. So it is inherent rivalry which we have. So
Okay. Rivalry.
I'm kind of enticing more and more people to join Canada chapter.
Okay, can we have
equal competition?
Can we have a customary picture of the crowd chat So people who are not on the cameras, can they turn on the camera for a few seconds and then you can probably go back. If anyone wants to comb their hair, they can do that. It's okay. So
Can you give us
others
like
can also
2 minutes? Can we just touch up or make up and come back?
Yeah, it's okay. Just give me a second. Just a
Siddharth
second.
also put a great one on the crowd chat asking for our favorite DevOps memes and GIFs. So I'm just about to put mine
Just a
on.
second. Give me a second, please. There's some picture which has got distorted. It's okay. Okay, we have. I'll share that once we are done with it.
Awesome.
Thank you. You can go back into your private rooms.
Thanks, Siddharth.
Where's that one?
What's one?
Peters. Oh, sorry. I didn't turn the mic off. There was one that Peter Madison sent out a little ways back. That was pretty funny.
What did it say?
It had the picture of the DevOps and then the ML ops, ops and then DevOps, and had like the evolution.
Oh, was it like the old thing about the ape turning into the human, which is completely wrong, but yeah.
No, Triceratops, I think, was the end of it.
Triceratops.
I got it. Here we go.
Found it. Cool.
Now I got Helen, where I got this, the lightning talk slides coming from. It was you actually.
Was that you got the one with the rhino in it? Of course you did. Yes, because I thought of you because of the bank. Yes. I've used that so many times in banks during consulting because it resonates so much with kind of like, those NatWest with your 400 years of history and all of your people and all of your M&A that's happened in the past. It's like you want to be a unicorn. I'm not particularly happy with the unicorn term, but it has landed. So we're gonna have to live with it, I think.
The only thing that pop up in my mind when I was seeing this slide is lean, agile, all those things.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not sure whether what I could have spoken of retrospectively, but that is what came up when I saw this slide for the very first time.
So just to explain for the rest of the team what Siddharth and I are talking about, Siddharth recorded a lightning karaoke. What we did with 6 ambassadors is we gave them packs of 20 slides that auto-rotated every 15 seconds that they've never seen before. So that's why it's karaoke. So it was very improvised. And Siddharth, I think we gave you DevOps journeys as a topic. Yeah. Romnick did SRE, I think. And then Mark, did you do one? On
value stream.
Yeah. Value streams, yeah. And then we had someone else. We had 6 of them in total. I can't remember off the top of my head all of the topics, but I think people had quite
Romnick did for SRE, Najib did for UI UX.
Oh,
Andrew did for user experience. Cornelia Davis did for cloud native. Mark did for value stream.
Yeah. So that was a bit of fun. Like genius coming to the fore there.
I'm not sure that's the right word. It's more the one you put the boots on and try to avoid the middle of the field, right? As you're stepping around the cows.
Oh, I like the evolution of operations. That's quite cute, isn't it? Born in the sweat of pearl. DevSec MLOps. What even is this? Is it a fish with feet? I mean, that's quite kind of accurate, isn't it? Oh my goodness, only 4 minutes left. One new update to pull. What's your favorite holiday recipe, food, drink that you want to have made for Global Skill Up Festival next week?
Devops Eggnog.
What's in a Devops Eggnog?
A little bit of dev, a little bit of ops. We actually have a family recipe for eggnog.
And served in a container.
You can only have one though, because it's quite a bit of alcohol in
I suppose you'd have to get to an old fashioned, right? Or a Boilermaker or.
You know,
Maybe just straight shots.
Very
Buzzword, take a shot.
very 2020 of you, Dr. G.
It is all beverages off the shelf because they all have to be in containers. Containers have to be isolated, separate in runtime,
Cocktails.
Can you send me some images of those containers, Mark?
right? That may result in a Christmas tree by the end of the week.
I want to say thank you to all of you very much for joining today. Really appreciate it. This was fun as always, and hope you enjoyed it. And obviously, this lives on forever here on this page, and then also on social media. So let's continue the conversation, even though we have to wrap.
Thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed my first event with y'all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Don, and everyone for coming along. It's been a pleasure to see you all. See you next week.
All right.
Everyone at the festival.
That's the festival.
See you next week.
you.
Bye.
Next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Everybody. See ya.
Cool. Left it. This is the first time that has happened that people have left before the session ended.
Yeah, I think everyone's or most people are running to a session here, but appreciate it. And hey, post that photo. We will get that out, Siddharth. Thank you for taking that group photo.
Yes, I'll do that. Give me. It's okay. Thanks, Shaping.
And I think you're going to win crowd captain today. I just have a hunch.
It's okay.
Look for that celebratory note here shortly.
It's okay.
All right. See you.
See ya.
Have a good one.